Hi guys, welcome to Who Are We, the podcast where you get to meet the we of We Carry Kevan. I'm your host, Kevan Chandler, and I want to introduce you to some of my friends, like Charles Dorris and Roman Haviland. These two didn't know each other from Adam, but I knew that wouldn't be a problem for long, and that's exactly why I wanted to go for a walk with them together. Neither of these guys have ever met a stranger. So where are we, guys?
We're at Harlansdale Farms in Franklin, Tennessee.
Franklin, Tennessee. And Charles, you said you went to church with
Mr.
Harlan himself.
Mr. Harlan, and I don't know, he's deceased and he was in his 80s, near 90 when he died, just a few years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago. So I don't know if he was the original Mr. Harlan or if it was his dad.
Oh, okay.
But he's the one who had the farm and bequeathed it or made it available to the city of Franklin. And
what we're walking through right now used to be the dog park, right? But they've moved that across the field. That's what Katie said anyway.
okay.
So we're in the former dog park.
So I remember growing up in Nashville, whenever we came to Franklin, you drive past this and you see all these beautiful horses. And we're across the street from the factory at Franklin, which is kind of a landmark now. But that factory was originally a stove factory back at the early part of the last century. So I can't tell you much more than that, other than we look across the way and see part of the apparatus of the old stove factory.
The smokestack thing, right?
Yeah, watch the wind.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Here we go.
Good job.
low bridge.
Good call. That's your job, Charles.
That's right. Okay, we're clear for the next 100 yards.
Yeah.
No trees.
So I guess you grew up here, right? Were you born and raised here?
I was born and raised in Nashville. Yep.
Okay.
So, and literally in Nashville, and of course right now Nashville and Franklin are like one city. They're all connected, there's development between the two, but when I was growing up, if you went to Franklin, the way you said it was, we're going out to Franklin, which meant you were going out of town to the next town south of Nashville.
That's awesome.
And so people back then, we're talking 50 years ago, if you lived in Franklin, you were considered way out in the country. Now people live south of Franklin and work in downtown Nashville and don't think anything about it.
Sure.
Such a growing city too. It's kind of non-stop, it feels like these days.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of found like the quiet spot here.
Yeah.
You know, like, in the middle of a crazy city.
Yeah, it's rarely this quiet anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the further you get into town these days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then Roman, you are from Alabama, right?
Born and raised in Birmingham. Yeah, but my dad played music, so probably the first 3 words you hear as a baby when your dad plays music is Jesus drums in Nashville.
That's great.
Those are probably the first 3 words I heard anyway. So Nashville was just synonymous with my whole life. And then I moved here about 11 years ago now. Feels like it was longer. To be honest
Did your dad play professionally?
Yeah, he did. He played for Southern gospel groups that toured and traveled around back in the hot days in the 70s. You know, when there was no AC at any church.
Literally the hot days.
Yeah.
And did you say he played drums?
Played drums, yeah.
So he was, in the 70s, he was a trendsetter in Southern Gospel to have a drum set on stage.
He was, yeah.
Wow.
It was all brand new.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting to see kind of the progression over time. You know, what Bill Gaither eventually was able to do for and with Southern Gospel, you know, as the years went on.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you could even say
what
that did in the end for Christian music as a whole.
Yeah.
Like the gates that opened up. Charles, when did you start into the music industry?
So, speaking of drums, I played drums in a band in junior high school, as we used to call it. and took drum lessons. And I was in the baby stages of the Southern rock thing, you know, so I had a band and we did, you know, we were just a copy band. We did Southern rock stuff and pop stuff. And anyway, I was always the guy that booked the band. So whoever had the drums, you had the biggest logistics problem.
Oh, man.
Because you had to load those drums up. Well, to make matters worse, when I was 16, I bought a PA system. So I not only had the drums, I had the PA system.
Figured if
So
you
it
had
should
the
come as no
band,
surprise at age
yeah.
17, I bought a van. So I was 17 years old in high school, and back then they were called panel trucks.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Bought an old panel truck, put shag carpet in it, paneled the walls, and it became the way we hauled all our gear around. And because of that, this long answer to your short question, but being the guy that booked the band, at some point in college, I realized, you know, it's a lot easier to book the band and make 20% of the money and not have to haul this stuff around. But I liked playing,
Sure.
but honestly, when I looked around, I didn't see very many professional drummers over age 30 making a living.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You know,
And
so,
being able to hear anymore, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I started booking other artists when I was in college, in addition to our band, and that was really the beginning. And started doing it professionally when I got out of college. So I've been doing it for 35 years. So
Wow.
5 years.
actually a little more, count college days.
So it's funny, we kind of had I had the reverse experience where, I mean, I dabbled in playing in bands, but I pretty much, for most of what I did was I booked bands and
Okay.
managed bands, and then some friends and I were like, oh, we should do some music ourselves, and so we did that, and I stopped booking for other people and just focused on our projects, and then eventually got out of it as a whole, but yeah, so maybe if I'd gone your route and done the played first and then booked,
Yeah,
I'd
maybe
still be
so.
in it. So this is fun because I wanted to get the two of you together. You know, all the other episodes that we're doing on this podcast are people that are already friends and already know each other and have
Gotcha.
some sort of,
Yeah.
you know, some sort of story together. And you guys don't know each other, and yet it's fun to see how you already can relate. And I love you both and love spending time with you. And you both are great storytellers, and you're both are faithful friends, and you feel deeply with the people that you're in proximity with. And so I thought, well, this would be good to get the two of you together. Kind of the age-old, like, I'm going to put two of my favorite people together and see what happens.
That's good.
That's good.
So here we are, but you know, a lot of this podcast is about friendship, and the question that I like to ask people is, based on your experience in life, up to this point, how has that shaped your understanding of friendship? And if you have some thoughts on that directly, we can, but I would love to ask you guys, you know, you both have a history of being on the road and touring, and some of that has been with people that you love dearly and are happy you're on the road with them, and sometimes it's a job, you know.
Yeah.
And so I just think you have a really unique perspective and dynamic, yeah, just a neat insight that I'd love to hear more about.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've been actually thinking a lot about friendship lately because of a Christian movie that recently just came out about the music industry.
Oh yeah.
And I went and saw it, and I think there's a lot in that movie about forgiveness, and I think there's a lot in general that kind of points to consistent forgiveness or lack of judgment, you know, in situations where your expectations aren't quite met. But, you know, what that kind of led me to, I think, was just understanding the concept of choosing joy with people a little more versus, choosing judgment or, anger or anything like that. And true friendship really kind of boils down to the choice of staying committed no matter what. Like you're always going to be there for that person no matter what the story is. That's the heart of Christ that's kind of always been there for me in my life. I can say that for sure. My family has always experienced the same thing, and so friendship, I have to live friendship, I think, the same way that it's been practiced to me. I've been offered a lot of grace and forgiveness and love in my life by people who, I never gave anything back to. And, and some I gave a lot back to, but all of that stuff was worth it. I don't have any experiences to look back on now and think, well, I wish that wouldn't happen, So I have a lot to be thankful for in that frame. Yeah.
So there's that proverb about friends sticking closer than brothers. Now, I have two brothers that do anything for me and I would for them, but there are friends that I actually would go to for them. Not because I wouldn't feel comfortable going to them, but just because of close bonds or friendships. You don't choose your physical brothers.
Right.
Even though you grow to love them, you grow up together, you have experiences together. And with friends, we in essence choose one another.
Right.
Because if it doesn't feel right, then we'll still call ourselves friends, but we're really
move on.
more like acquaintances. but true friends. I did have a guy tell me one time years ago, a mentor of mine, he said, you'll have many acquaintances in your life, but your true friends you can count on two hands. Now, whether that's true for everybody, I don't know. Some can count on one hand, some that might take both hands, both feet, times 2 or 3 to get your true friends. But the definition of what a true friend is, but that resonates. But you talked about being on the road, and you've probably experienced this too. When you're in the confines of a van,
oh man,
or even a tour bus, you're in each other's space.
Right.
And
most people don't even see their own families 24 hours a day, but you do on the road. You're consistently with those people.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Oh, doing great.
Okay. Do you need the walking poles or anything?
No.
All right.
I think we're good.
Cool.
Keep going.
You want to go see
over
what
here?
the arena looks like over
Sure.
here?
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
Is
I'm
this
actually pretty curious.
where they rode the horses?
Yep.
Nice.
I thought I smelled some, horse-laden scent.
It wasn't me, I promise.
Hidden away over here.
Hey, buddy.
So I don't know if back when this was an active horse farm, because this was all private property, if this was the arena, but I bet it was.
Or even a training space for,
It does look fresh,
Yeah.
interestingly.
Do they still bring horses out here? Or what do they do?
It looks like they're still doing something. Those look like fresh tracks right there,
Yeah, I think
actually.
there appears to be some.
Those look like go-kart tracks.
Yeah,
They do kind of
you
look
got
like,
that out there too, for sure.
Yeah.
It does look like some hoof prints there.
Oh, that's
you
true
know,
on the edge
so-
and then further out.
So for sure, I would say so.
The equestrian world, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of doing that thing.
And if you're in that world, then you probably know about this facility. Because if you think about it back in the day when Hardsdale Horse Farm was launched, you weren't packing up and going to regional events.
Sure.
You were going to the next big farm that had a riding arena. And on the third Saturday of November, you were always here or whatever. That kind of thing. So
Like high school basketball.
Yeah.
You move from one to the other.
Yeah. I'm not an equestrian guy other than growing up in Tennessee, and we're famous for horses here. And Brentwood was a big horse area. Brentwood is next to Franklin, so we're right next to Brentwood. Franklin was a big horse area. And then, of course, the next big town is Columbia, Tennessee. And they're not famous for horses. They're famous for mules.
Oh, that's right. Muletown is what it's called.
Yeah.
actually.
In fact,
yeah.
they have something every year called Mule Day. It's a weekend, actually, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And it's like 100,000 people come, or whatever the number, it's a big number. They fill up this town of Columbia, and it's all about the mules. And there's lots of people down there that have mules.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been down there actually for it because I work pretty close to there. And
Okay.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we know about it.
Yeah.
It sounds impressive.
Yeah.
We have turtle days in Indiana,
Turtle Day.
in
Ah,
Churubusco. Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago, some kids swore that they saw like a, 10-foot wide turtle
Wow.
in the lake, and that's it. So it's Turtle Day.
That's not totally
they have
crazy.
turtle
to think.
races, and yeah.
That's great.
You're right. It's not totally out of left field, but
I would be wary of Turtle Day because of like the turtles that I know about in the South.
oh yeah.
It's the alligator snapping turtles and like mean
Ooh.
monster snapping turtles that
Yeah.
even tiny ones will take your little finger off. It's no fun.
Are you speaking from experience?
No, let's just say I've gotten close. I did get freaked out one time by a snapper that got a little too close for comfort.
So let's walk over toward those houses over there.
Yeah. Hey Charles, could you put my elbow inside the backpack?
Like,
Yeah, we can get Katie to help if we want.
does it go in the?
In like against
Oh,
me.
sure. Yeah.
So
Katie, help me put his elbow inside the backpack. Teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
So
So I
just kinda-
normally lean this way and then tuck.
yeah,
Okay.
just like that.
Okay, a little
Awesome.
more.
No,
Lean.
that's good.
All right.
All right,
And
very
do you
good.
need me higher up on there?
Oh,
or?
thank you. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Probably a little. Let me see if I can reset the.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. Let's do it.
Awesome. So yeah, let's. You said the thing about touring is you're in a van in small space with a few people. So what? And Roman, you were talking about kind of choosing joy and faithfulness and friendship. So what does that look like practically? Kind of putting those two discussions together. When you're in a small space, when you're on the road and away from your home and your norm, how do you choose that joy? What's the intentionality there look like, kind of in a practical way?
That's a good question. I think practically, just logistically, you've got to learn to create space for yourself to, to make healthy decisions. For me, that process has been more about like a daily practice. Spending time with God, like even in a structured manner. I don't think I've ever had structure to the way I've prayed or read scripture or any of that until the last 2 or 3 years. And that's been a huge difference maker, I think, for me in having discernment in my friendships, like without question.
How has it affected people around you? As far as like, because of that, you interact with them this way, and so they respond.
It's like,
this
yeah.
way. We're talking about math problems here.
Honestly, I've been lucky enough that the people around me are really strong people when it comes to emotional health and spiritual health and growth. I even have a friend and a roommate who's not a believer who even still has been like very discerning and kind and gentle, I think, and gracious, when we're having conversations about our differing beliefs. And, it feels like there's a spiritual aspect to those conversations
Hey guys.
and a spiritual atmosphere to them as well, where A door seems to be open that's not normally open, I guess you could say. For it to be a growing and learning curve, but also like a very peaceful experience. We blocked.
Well, we could go
Swing
down the
around.
side if you're...
Either way
Let's
there.
hop over it. Let's climb over it, Roman.
We can go around.
They just don't want vehicles to go this way that aren't official.
Kev, is
Yeah.
this gonna? Are we gonna?
Yeah,
block
we
it?
can do it.
All right.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Sweet.
yeah.
Like a glove.
Roman made that look easy.
Yeah, I did.
It's like what's the old bar you go under?
Oh, the limbo.
Limbo. Yeah.
Yes. Next up, we'll limbo together.
Yeah. See, I'm talking about joy. You have to, you've heard this, but you have to choose joy. And that sounds easy to say, sitting here in a beautiful setting like this, beautiful temperature,
Sure.
great people. But if you don't look for the good in things, you're going to lose out on a lot of what life has to offer you. Certainly as a Christian, but even if you weren't a Christian, if you look at everything negatively and everything pessimistically, and in our friendships, I think that's what you really have to do. You got to look for the good in people, and you got to, raising kids, you nurture them and you mold them, but you also make sure to accentuate the good, the positive, and I that's a biblical principle that we don't teach as much as I think we should. And yet life, God tells us life is going to be hard in the sense of, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, so to speak. So we're passing a couple little houses here that were houses that people that worked on the farm could live in. And I can't tell you the exact story of the houses because I don't know. But probably one of these houses was the farm manager. And part of his deal was he would get a salary, plus he got a place to live. The other one probably was the number 2 person. There could have been other buildings on the property, but I've walked over and looked at these before and have been told what I just told you.
Yeah.
So that was a very common thing, for many years. It still is in some big commercial farms. They provide
Housing.
lodging for you.
What's this out back of this house?
The silo right there?
Some sort of
like
silo, grain, something or other.
Yeah,
And
grain
then like
silo.
a private
Yeah.
stall for their own horses. and,
Keep the grain dry and fill up the buckets under it. I don't know, I'm guessing.
yeah.
Looks like that's probably what it was. That or a corn silo.
There you go.
Stock up on it and feed your family for the year off of that
Yeah.
dry corn.
There you
As
go.
much as you could.
There you go.
Just add water, right?
And again, all these big fields, you can just imagine them teeming with horses.
Yeah.
They had Tennessee walking horses here, which were a big deal for a lot of years. And
Looks like those are some horse tracks right there, so maybe somebody.
yeah. I don't know what the rule is with horses. So if you have a horse and you trailer it in from Spring Hill, can you ride here?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way to find the answer to that question. But I don't know what it is.
We don't have it.
Yeah. So Kevin, I turn the question back on you. The question about joy and friendships.
Well, I haven't been on tour with no. I'm
Well, that's
kidding.
true. You haven't
I'm
been.
kidding. No. Well, and I think
You kind of know a little bit though, because you
sure.
the trips. That's kind of
Yeah.
like a mini tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think about Katie and I talk a lot about the fact that our home is open to guys coming in to help take care of me,
Yeah.
and that means that our space is it's filled with other people, and it's not always our own, and so how do we navigate that to really invite them in and to, like you said, like choose joy and see the best in them and encourage them and draw that out as their brother and sister in Christ. And it's been a really wonderful thing to have these guys in our home, but it's different, it's different from what the usual or the norm is for newlyweds.
Oh yeah.
And there's not really a handbook for what it should look like, So
That makes sense. Yeah,
That's true.
So yeah, we're learning that and navigating that together. And I wanted to ask you guys, I can chip in on this too, but we talk about seeing the good in others. How do we do that as believers? A lot of these conversations, actually all of them, have ended up on kingdom living and what the kingdom of God looks like, and how we're living that out in small ways now through friendship, and I think some of that is seeing Christ in others, seeing His work in them and in their hearts, and encouraging that in them. And so I'd love to hear what that looks like for you guys as you interact with people in your day-to-day and your families and your friends. How do you, what's the process for you of really looking deep into them? Because I do feel like both of you see people really well. So I'd love to, and maybe has that always been the case? Does that come naturally to you, or did you at some point have to say, this is the kind of life I want to live, and I want to see people better, and I don't know. That's a lot of questions. Yeah.
That's a good question. And seeing the good in people. I'm going to go back to that movie a little bit that I saw. I think there are probably people in that film that I judged, probably improperly, I felt a little conviction on that. Plus, I think just a conviction in general with, how the story is always, it seems to be written like a movie in our minds, and we forget to live in the present and just accept it where it is and accept what God is saying in the moment. So choosing to see the good in people, I think, is a part of that. Is, I think, choosing to see that in yourself too. I mean, that's always been a big part of it for me, is understanding that. Can y'all lift him real quick?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And I wondered, have you retightened the straps under your arms?
Like right here if you want to.
Let's see. There we go.
And then here if you want to tighten those at all. I don't know if that would help. Or,
Like pull back on them?
yeah, pull like down.
Pull him down.
Here. And here if you wanted to. I don't know if that would help.
So
I can lift up.
Charles, if you lift up too in there.
My
And then
bad.
does that work to kind of pull them down? I don't know if that helps or not.
Let's see.
Maybe no.
Can't really pull these down.
And
Okay,
pull
that's
your
all right.
back, really.
Yeah, there we go.
Like a skier.
That feels a little better, actually.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, and we can start
You wanna
heading back
stroll
that
that
way.
way? Yeah.
We're losing light, so
Oh, man.
well, yeah.
You look good in the dark, though.
Thanks.
That's a bus joke.
That's the bus joke.
Yeah. You never look better until the lights were off. You say that to all the guys on the bus. Okay. I think you're right, Roman. You gotta, and Kevin, what you're saying, you do have to look for the good. And one of the things I've tried to do, I don't have it all figured out. I don't want to sound like I do, but I try to find where there's common ground with people early on. If it's a brief relationship, since somebody I'm sitting next to on an airplane, you start with those 30,000-foot questions. Where are you from? Oh, I know somebody there. some of that stuff.
You know people everywhere too, Charles.
Well,
So,
maybe so.
so that helps.
But in other words, you try to find, what you share in common, as opposed to what's different about you. And I'm afraid that we're losing some of that. We're not modeling it for the younger generation like we need to.
Very true.
We're focusing now, it seems like, on how we're different. And we're doing a great disservice to our young people and ourselves to do that, because that's not going to engender deep relationships. I want to know what unites us. So come back to the being out on the road experience. This can happen anywhere, but there's an old term that I've heard over the years called a battlefield experience. So here's an example of it. The three of us go off to war in Vietnam, let's say. And we're in the jungle, we're depending on one another, we're shouting, watch out, we're out there together. We don't even know each other. We've been thrown together by being drafted, let's say, in the military.
Right.
And we're over there for a year.
Right?
And the experience we share is a bonding experience for a lifetime. Doesn't mean we're going to come home and live in the same neighborhood or be best friends, but that'll never be taken away from us. And on a much smaller, less serious level, you go out on a run of concert dates.
It might feel like a war.
And you're gone for 3 weeks.
Right.
And you're in that van, and 8 of you are sharing a hotel room for showers.
Right.
Or maybe it's a little more luxurious and you're in a bus and there's 3 hotel rooms you're sharing for showers. But you're still with each other, like you said, even more than with your family. You're with each other 24 hours a day.
Right.
If you wake up in the middle of the night, if you go to the bathroom, you're getting off of a bunk and there's somebody below you, somebody above you, somebody 4 feet across from you. You're with everybody. If you're in a hotel, there's 2 guys to a room, or maybe early on, there's 4 sleeping in that room, kind of a thing. So you're really close. And so in a way, it's a battlefield experience, because every day you're waking up in a new parking lot of a church. I'm a Christian music person. Did country music for a while. But you're waking up at a new venue every day. New people to help load or unload, new caterers, new venue managers, or if it's a church, new pastor. And every experience every day is different. And those of you on the bus together or in the van together are on the battlefield every day.
Yeah, that's the constant.
Right.
Is the familiar face.
Yep.
And if we don't have a common bond about what unites us, it's rough, because it's rough to be out there facing something different every day. Not that everything every day is bad, it's just different.
It's just different, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said it. I think our generation now is so primarily focused on what's different about us. I think sometimes in the vein of that made us unique in some way, but that turned into vanity. It was kind of a vanity metric for life. And, now of course that gets highlighted so well that it's difficult for people to see past those things, because they almost require each other to see those things first. And Jesus looked right through all of it when he was here, He certainly has for me. So
Yeah.
he's looked through mine. He's like, oh, red hair and beard, he didn't call me like Irish or, he was just like, no,
Yeah.
it's just Roman.
You said something earlier, Roman, about sometimes we like to see life as a movie and we forget that it's more than that. And something that I've always struggled with, and so I've had to really intentionally work on, is remembering that the people are more than two-dimensional, and so whatever the issue is, or whatever the commonality even is that's right in front of me, there is a lifetime of depth behind that,
Right.
And they are so much more than that one thing, and I think that we do live in a culture that not only forgets that about each other, but we forget that about ourselves. And I see a lot of people that classify themselves and take a lot of pride in this like one dimension of who they are, and they forget that they have more depth, that they are 3D.
Yeah,
and,
That's so well said.
Yeah.
and so as a result, we then kind of put that on others, and if that one dimension is not the same for them, then, you know, the heck with them kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think for me, finding joy and finding the good and encouragement in encouraging the good in others is realizing that depth and realizing that 3D and drawing that out and celebrating those years of life and experience that I don't have, you know. So I don't have it exactly the same as you or as Charles, and so I can be thankful for what you guys bring to the table in this feast of life.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. I don't think the kingdom of heaven is ever made by, you know, what we individually take as much as what we give, right? So if the kingdom of heaven is more like the way that Jesus described it, then there's going to be a lot less about, you know, like the things we're saying now. And I honestly, I prefer it. You know, the happiest I've ever been is when I'm doing something for someone, whether that was forced or not. You know, it always was better than the things that I do for myself under selfish terms, especially knowing it. But even if you didn't, the moment of realization, I think, had a lot to do with it. So.
Oh yeah.